In this video, we'll look at naming your fear, creating a plan to face your fear, and managing your fear. Fear is a normal, healthy response to being in danger. If we're facing a lion or a tornado or in an abusive relationship, we should feel fear, and we don't want to work on reducing fear when we are actually in danger. However, sometimes we experience fears when we're not in danger. These can be specific fears such as spiders or heights, or they can be more general like a fear of busy places or speaking in public. If we're going to face our fear, we need to know what the fear is and what is feeding the fear. Ask yourself, what is the worst situation that would trigger your fear, and what is the worst case scenario in that situation? For example, someone might have a fear of flying, but what feeds the fear can be different. One person might dread the idea of a panic attack on the plane and not being able to get off. Another person might dread the flight being delayed and not being able to control what happens. And another person might fear the plane crashing. Some fears are more based on being judged by others. For example, one person might fear having a panic attack because they think they're going to have a heart attack or pass out, whereas someone else might fear looking stupid and feeling embarrassed for having a panic attack. By identifying the thoughts we get when we're in a fearful situation, we can understand it better. If you struggle identifying thoughts, write down what you believe will happen if you stayed in your fearful situation. What's the worst case scenario? People will often say, it sounds silly, but I fear X, Y, and Z happening even though I know it won't happen. It's okay if your thoughts sound silly. We're just trying to identify what keeps feeding the fear. Once you have captured your main thoughts, we can name the fear, such as, I fear losing control. I fear having a panic attack and dying. I fear being judged by others. I fear spiders. I fear looking stupid. Now we create a plan to address the fear by coming up with different situations that would trigger the fear and scaling these from 1 to 10 on how much fear you would feel, 10 being the worst. We can get creative with this. Here are some examples. For a fear of being judged, situations might include going into a busy supermarket, talking to a stranger, joining a fitness group, or dancing at a social event. A fear of spiders might include seeing a picture of a spider, watching a video of a spider, seeing a spider in a zoo, holding a spider. Rate each situation you come up with, and you are looking for ones that score around 3 or 4 to face. And we can break situations down to help reduce the score if needed. For example, having someone with you for support, or picking quieter locations. Once you have your situation, we can create a plan on how to face it, following some key points. Firstly, plan when you'll face the situation and be specific. View it as an experiment to test if your fears are justified. For example, if you're planning to go to the supermarket, which supermarket? How will you get there? What time and with who? And before facing your fears, we can practice a breathing exercise called box breathing. Breathe in for 4 seconds, drawing one side of the box in your mind. Hold your breath for 4 seconds, drawing the top of the box. Breathe out for 4 seconds, drawing the third side, and hold your breath again for 4 seconds, closing off the box. Repeat this as many times as needed, and practice this every day to get used to doing it. And start by visualizing facing your fear. Go into detail. What can you see, hear, and smell? Work through the full scenario, and if fears come up, visualize how you'll overcome these. Notice how it will feel to accomplish this. When you think of things that might go wrong, challenge these thoughts. Look for the evidence for and against the thought. Ask yourself, what is the likelihood of it happening? And are there other explanations? And are you ignoring information? And when you face your fear, expect to experience anxiety because you're purposefully putting yourself in a triggering situation. This is why we want to pick a situation that scores around a 3 on the fear scale. Remind yourself it's okay to be anxious. Use the box breathing to calm the anxiety and challenge any negative thoughts. The anxiety will peak and then will start to ease. Often people retreat just as anxiety is about to peak, so they never learn that they can actually cope. It's important to remain in the situation until you feel the anxiety ease. Celebrate this accomplishment. Even though it was hard, you did it and got through it. We then need to repeat this as much as possible until we no longer feel anxiety triggered. This is when the brain has learned you aren't in danger, so don't need to feel fear. As we repeat facing our fear, we should feel anxiety peaks quicker and feels less intense. You can then move on to facing the next situation on the fear scale. This might be going from being in the supermarket with someone to going to the supermarket on your own while your partner waits in the car, or going from speaking out loud in front of the mirror to speaking in front of family members at home. Some fears are harder to practice, such as getting on a plane. Being as creative as possible helps. Start by visualizing the whole journey, for example, from getting to the airport, checking in, waiting at the gate, boarding the plane, take off, eating in-flight food, watching an in-flight movie, landing and getting off the plane. Then you could go practice going to the airport, maybe have a coffee there. It prepares us for the big day. There is less uncertainty as we've already practiced part of the journey. And some people have safety behaviours that keep the anxiety going, and these can be subtle. When facing your fear, are you doing anything that allows you to hide from fully facing it? This could be looking at your phone, sitting down, drinking water, or wearing headphones. If we're using safety behaviours to get through our fears, that is okay. At some point, we might try to face the fear without using the safety behaviour to reduce anxiety further, but it's up to you. And alcohol and cannabis are safety behaviours that we want to avoid, as it tends to make the anxiety worse in the long run. Finding ways to face your fear without using substances is important. And people with neurodiversities may experience sensory sensitivities. Wearing headphones, for example, might help with this, so we wouldn't take that away. If you're struggling to face your fear, that's okay. Break it down into smaller steps and access support. This video is a guide on how to get started. Many people benefit from anxiety-specific supports when trying to face their fears. Choose situations that you are safe in with people that you trust. So to summarise, identify your fear by asking what situations trigger it and what's the worst case scenario for you in that situation. Create a scale of situations ranking the fear from low to high and pick a lower ranking situation to test facing your fear. Make a specific plan on when and how you'll face your fear. Practice the box breathing and visualising the situation from start to finish and challenge any negative thoughts. When you face your fear, anticipate anxiety. Stay in the situation until the anxiety eases. Continue using the box breathing and challenge negative thoughts throughout. Celebrate accomplishments, then repeat the situation until the anxiety is no longer being triggered. And if you have physical health issues, access advice first before facing your fear. And if you're struggling to face your fear, please don't go through this alone. Access support.